Alright, so today we're going to be going over the joint by joint theory, and we're going to be looking at my lovely drawing. It's a really good thing I'm not an artist, but I try my best, okay? So the joint by joint theory is a idea and concept that our joints kind of work in succession and in correlation with each other, and that there's an alternating need between either mobility or stability in each successive joint, okay? Now, all joints need a measure of mobility and stability, but depending on the structure in the joint that you're talking about, it will bias towards one way or the other, okay? So that's kind of where the joint by joint theory and the joint by joint idea comes into play. So we're gonna kind of travel up my nice little stick, or my stick man here. We'll call him Bob for today. Okay, so if you see right at the bottom, kind of starts with all the way down at your big toe, the often forgotten big toe, which needs mobility, okay? Then again, as I mentioned before, that it's going to be an alternating requirement for either mobility or stability from joint to joint. So big toe is going to be mobile, then we want our feet to be stable. We want to be able to create a lot of tension and root into the ground hard with our feet. Our ankle is then going to require mobility. Our knee is then going to be stable. Our hips are going to need mobility. Our lower back is going to need stability. Our upper back is going to need mobility, and then our neck is going to need stability. Then, when we get to the shoulder blade, so that's kind of represented by that triangle floating in the middle of nowhere, again, with my beautiful artistic talent, right on the Bob's left side there. The scap is going to need a little bit of both, depending on the movement, depending on the person. You're going to want to create nice scapulohumeral rhythm, so you're going to want your scap to be able to move with your arm, but you're also going to want it to be stable and the muscles around it to be strong in order to create stability when you're doing very heavy loaded movements, whether that's bench pressing or overhead pressing, whatever there. So the scap's a little weird in that it's kind of a more even distribution, an even need between both mobility and stability. Then we get to the shoulder. That's going to need mobility. The elbow is going to need stability. The wrist is going to need mobility. And then the hands and fingers are kind of reflective of the foot. Hands are going to need to be stable. We want a strong grip. And then fingers, mobility. Okay. Now, why is this important? Why is this alternating succession important in athletics and in life? Well, through either improper strength training, lifestyle choices, just the nature of whatever sport that we might be participating in, these requirements might go a little bit haywire, okay? So our upper back might become stiff and actually gain too much stability because we're sitting at a desk the whole time, a little bit of rounder position, and our upper back locks up. Our low back might become, I'm going to actually go to the hips here. Our hips might become too stable because we sit too much, and then we lose enough hip mobility, okay? Our foot might gain mobility because we aren't in the shoes enough, we're not out of our shoes enough, and we actually get weaker feet muscles because of that, and therefore we don't have as much ability to resist unwanted forces through the foot, and our foot again might have compensatory issues and become too mobile, okay? Just as a couple examples. So why that's important is a theory that's called compensatory relative flexibility theory, okay? So basically this idea is that if one joint starts to have dysfunction, okay, the joints are above or below it are going to compensate and gain more mobility, or become relatively more flexible than they should be, and that can lead to pain and movement issues down the road. So if our hips become immobile, we're going to get that mobility through the low back, which is going to compensate, or maybe through the knees, it could also compensate. Either one of those structures might become more mobile than they should be, which could eventually lead to joint degradation. It's a big word, word for me. Joint degradation and problems and pain down the line. Okay? Now, we can fix that, or we can start to help that through proper strength training, being mindful of our warm-ups, and doing intentful mobility work in order to restore this more natural balance, gain more athleticism, and make sure that all our joints are working in proper succession with each other. Okay. Hope you all learned something. Go have a good day.